Sup nerds? Ongoal here, bringing you a replay that features using cavalry in the late game to take out infantry and playing poke effectively against a very high tier melee opponent. This was round 3 of an SFT that Turin hosted, played against Enticity. And he was on VC, one of the top factions right now. I'm on Emp, middle tier. Trying another kind of like speculative semi-kite build. A lot of infantry, Gelt, some war wagons, then a whole lot of cav in reinforcements. And the idea is to hold some of the points to buy ourselves more time to poke. Anticity's gone for Mass Graveyard, Kemmler, some White Kings. Pretty smart, relatively stock build except for the Mass Graveguard. The Graveguard work out well into our stuff. Right off the bat, we were expecting Ent to forward deploy somewhere with Crypt Ghouls. And we're doing a good tactic here where we get them revealed and shoot them, and then he has to commit, because if he runs away, we're just going to hit him. So he chases one of our huntsmen, and then the other is well positioned to just shoot this. Additionally, we go in, we see that the dogs are coming and are going to close in on our huntsman. So we go for a chariot hit with our war wagons, which are actually very good at hitting infantry, especially unarmored imp like the Crypt Ghouls. They can't really do any damage in melee, but they can do pretty good damage on the initial tap. So we do that just to screen him off. While that's going on, we've summoned Outriders because we've seen he doesn't have that many like mobility and skirmish elements. And the aim of this is to put pressure on his lord that will allow us to hold several points for longer. And then we come back for another hit on the war wagons, just kind of like a drive-by. You can do these with like 2 clicks. 1 click to get on the wagons, and then another click later to get them out. We summoned some Chevron militia by his dire pack, which normally would clean them up pretty quick, but Ent is playing a heads-up game here, and he sends in the Fellbats to tip it more towards his unit and get her out. Good play by Ent. And then we just, are picking targets that we can pop with our poke. We've got a single greatsword, basically to go womp some White Kings, and for some reason, he's walking the White Kings towards the greatswords, which we take that. We take those. It's fine. We go for another chariot hit with the war wagons with the intent of doing that and then getting them out. A little risky because the dire pack can do a lot of damage to us, but we were attempting to keep our free company militia around unsuccessfully. Now we ceded the points. You don't want to take a fight against their infantry for too long. And we've got Final Trans Gelt here. So we're trying to just get like a little tickle on Kemmler and then pop off the final trans damage, which will put him in not a great spot. Like you can see, it's got 17 seconds of, on average, 100 damage. So it does about 1,700 damage, which with a little bit of help from other things will put him into routing territory. And now the main thing we're illustrating, Cav do a lot of damage when they hit unbraced infantry, especially when you have like non-AP cav hitting low armored stuff. So what we're doing is running around looking for opportunities to get like rear charges or hit unbraced things, letting them stick in for a little bit and then rotating on to something else with our Empire Knights. And you can see we get pretty good damage there, like 200 in a short amount of time. And they're going to be more efficient when you don't stick them in for too long against most of their targets. That said, when something's routing and is going to go, you can keep it in until the unit is gone. And then we're looking for random war wagon hits on his Graveguard when we can get them. And we've got a little bit of time. Like we've seeded all 3 points, and he's racking up cap points. But because we pressured early, we can still get back to a situation where we're not in a 3 cap. So what we're doing generally is like trying to poke a bit. Here, quick pause for game-winning tactic. We're trying to poke a bit and then come back. So he overcommitted Gelt a little bit, and we put our firewall moving war wagons right up against it, and then we popped Final Trans. We were waiting for a better target earlier, and then we found it here. And the reason that we're following closely with the wagons is just so that they auto-fire onto get his head, Kemmler and get a lot of damage off. And then we take them off fire at will once he's got a missile screen in place and force pass them through to be closer and then tap more shots on him. So just like a little bit of micromanagement at a key point. And you can't be microing all your units like this all the time. It's more like you want to pick situations where they're doing something really critical, like finishing off a crumbling lord. So they get a couple shots, he goes down, and now we're in really good shape. We were already doing like reasonably well here, but that'll buy us like a large margin of air. And pretty much the only way he can win now is pushing us out on the points. So we see that right away, and then we've got some summons of infantry here. We use our more mobile units to push over to the point, and we run some cav through. We've been doing the same thing where we get some hits on the Cairn Wraiths, and then we get our cavalry out. And you can even like run into light cav like or anti-cav items like skeleton spearmen, as long as you don't stay in for very long. So there we got like the rear charge on them, tapped a little bit of damage and got out. It's not like an ideal target, but the reason we're doing it that way is that we want to take out some of the health of his infantry that's contesting the points while getting our cav on the points. And it is a good trade just on the bump. Just if you stick in any longer, it doesn't work out particularly well. We've used our mobile stuff to get this middle point. We're applying pressure to his right side. Now we're in pretty good shape. Ent's going to need to do something somewhat special to come back. He's down value. His lord's out. He'll get the lord back. But now we're capturing points, so we're no longer under a ton of pressure. We run the cav around to go get the point. And now we just, want to protect our range as much as we can while we keep taking out loose exposed infantry. We want to go get another final trans if possible. It's pretty satisfying. So we get the point, and you don't really want to grind indefinitely against VC on the points if you can avoid it, even when you're ahead. So what we're going to try to do is find the 2 points where he's weakest and keep those, and then just kind of trade those back and forth. And we've got a bit of give. We can get to about 1,000 points for him and 500 for us, and it's fine. There we get another final trans. So we should be able to zone Kemmler after doing that. We see he's got his White King center, which are like pretty good holding pieces and better than the other ones he's got. And so our plan is now to take this point, hold it, take this point, hold it. And we expect that he'll bring like Black Knights or Crypt Ghouls or something. And so we're ready with 2 knights in the vicinity. Because we don't see anything here, we're using them to like gently pressure mid and force him to keep these here, or the threat is, we go around and just take it. But their job really is to be looking out for infantry reinforcements and support these things. So they don't want to get too far away unless we get like a free pick on the points. While that's going on, we continue opportunistically finding things to run over with the war wagons. Again, you just want to kind of hit things once and keep going, click out. They're really not a chariot that wants to stay in melee. They're, a shooting unit, but they very much can do significant impact damage. We've got our outriders with some chevrons sitting here, just picking expensive things to shoot. And now we see that there's a Crypt Ghoul over here, so we redirect the knights. Sometimes when people have their characters in their backfield like this, their camera is like this, and they don't see them. So what we were doing here is a fun tactic where you just kind of see if the keeper's awake. We're just checking if he's going to react, and he does. But if he didn't, we would have considered going in and trying to get a lord pick while the lord was off stage. Didn't quite work out, but you gotta identify the threats and present. So here we're doing the thing we were talking about earlier. We go for a nice charge, and you can see like a good charge of cavalry against unbraced low armor infantry is just devastating. Like we immediately rake off about half the armor, and then we go for another charge, getting out of melee, which prevents them from really doing much. And this is like the basics of cycle charging. So we go in, this time we're gonna let them stick in for a little bit because we need to support the spears. The charge bonus lasts 15 seconds, it decays. So it's like entirely gone after 15, and it's effective for like 7 or 8. Now we go for another, we slide these out and we try to see if we can get the Lord. Well, we rotate the other cav in. While that's all going on, he summoned some Black Knights and is like, trying to apply pressure over here. We just focus fire our range and make sure nothing's like too exposed. So these guys are the most exposed thing, but they have some Knights of the Black Rose to support. We're trying to get the Lord pick. We're holding the edges. Overall, pretty good. Like we're far ahead at this point. And we see that he might allow us to just pick off the center. So we apply like a little bit of chaff there to keep him honest. But really, our game plan remains unchanged to hold the edges. I'm just going to fast forward real quick because Ent is in pretty deep trouble. And how we got here was basically just getting good trades on the intro and then getting the Lord snipe when he overextended. But the units would trade well enough to support other scenarios as well. We've got a little better damage than it looks like. Like, it looks like he's ahead of the value trading, but our ranged units get undercounted. And the VC are all melee, so it should be fully registering their damage output. But you can kind of see by eyeball test, there's actually a lot more high-quality Empire units on the field right now. So Ent is playing really heads up. He sees that he's losing the game, and he knows that his out is to kind of hold on to this lead. So he chain reinforces over on the left side and swings everything he's got over for a desperation play to take the point. And while he's doing that, he's just checking if we're paying attention and just trying to sneak something over here. We're not allowing it. So we react, we send stuff in. We don't give him quite enough space and time to take the point. We keep getting chariot charges, pressuring his lord. And while that's going on, we cycle charge some more over. We're simultaneously cycle charging over here against these things, and then also against these zombies in the middle, and plowing through onto the Black Knights. So just taking any unbraced infantry opportunities we can find. You can stick in against zombies, but in this case, we're not attempting to do that because there's higher value targets around. And we see that he's a little bit soft in the center, so we try to send the cavalry in and quickly cap it, which would fully seal the game. And we're keeping an eye over here, with the idea being that if center cap is looking bad, we still have plenty of time to send our cav back over and protect our infantry. There's a bit of a bidding game going on here where we're trying to guess how much is he reinforcing each point, and what do we need to hold at least two of them, or if he makes if he gets into bad position, also taking out the third is viable. But when you just need two to win, if you're not sure about the points, it's best to play it kind of safe and just hold them. So we're doing this just because we have the mobility and we know that he doesn't have anything fast over here. So we're able to cap the point and then go reinforce the side. And that's about it. Poke them, get good initial engages, pick a time to turn it around, get lots of cycle charges. This kind of strategy is very mechanically and decision intense. So if you try it out, you might lose a lot, but it's also a lot of fun, and it's a good way to improve your skill at the game and your overall bandwidth, to kind of put yourself, oh man, these swordsmen did really well. Put yourself in a situation where you're overloaded, and then just try to focus on controlling your army well. That'll increase your skill rapidly over time. So the war wagons did pretty well, got lots of charges, still had ammo, just a little tiny bit of ammo, drew some attention. The knights crushed, which is one of the main things we're illustrating. They did very well running into his unbraced infantry. Overall, most of the roster performed well. On Enticity side, his lord did pretty well across two summons. Actually, no, it didn't, because that's two summons worth of cost. White Kings did decently. They're probably the best unit on the roster. His infantry didn't quite get there. A few of the units traded even, but a lot of them did not. And then his reinforcements got just absolutely destroyed by... I know it looks like these units did well, but they got multiple summons. They got destroyed by the Empire reinforcements. The other thing is the bats and dogs are doing stuff like killing an already damaged huntsman, which registers the full value of the huntsman to them, but isn't actually worth it. So that's how you can play this kind of thing against a really high tier opponent playing a rush faction without counterpoke. Hopefully you found that useful. If you like this kind of content, remember to subscribe. See you later, nerds.